And a great portent appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. She was with child. To begin to mumble, let air flicker between the tongue and spit. I wonder how the lips begin to move before the throat slides down then up. How the heart pumps uncontracting out to let the lung wheeze in, out. Spongy holes fill smokeless wind bubbles, windpipe sliced in half. Acompáñame al nacimiento de the shoot of the wheat, the bud of the corn, birth of Teositne, daughter of. Nawa girl, born on the fence of iron and rust. Nawa girl, born on the center of the Bagus. There is coal in your mouth. As we wander across the forest, they have told us that there is gold and silver in the heart of the tree, but we dig underneath the tunnel of the volcano to find a jugular vein with a mouth. There it spits out fields of the sugar cane. Nawa girl, brew the agave. There it spits out fields of the sugar cane. The galeon sits amidst. She calls it occidental. There are oceans between us. As we learn to swallow bourbon, there were hundreds of chicotazos on her back. Nawa girl, your skin is changing. It glistens under the 5 moons, under the 5 suns. We have arrived. The cotton fields have made them golden. We are ancient in our songs, Nawa girl. I've come to talk to you again. You were planted in my brain when I remember my father in Manzanillo. The sand dorándose under the sun, he held us in the water. Smile, laugh, dance, he said. Dance, Señorot. Talked to him this morning, heard the ruffle of the leaves behind the stump of the fig tree. He is hiding. Silence, Señorot. My ma says, pendejo. He just stepped out of Segunda Vida, so sure of himself. Yolot, you keep putting your palms together. And though I've come to talk to you again, our throats are full. Whisper, say Yolot. It takes several falls before we can stand. I don't know how to make sentences. I keep listening to how the water drips from the faucet. Yolot let the water run so I couldn't hear him, but I could hear how you talk to him. A voice, a chirp. Nobody is getting high tonight. The dealer is outside. Mama says, I don't care if we find him under a bridge. I can't figure out your will. What is it that you want? Your throat is tight, so is your lung. Everything is a poem. Say Yolo. The vision of Manzanillo and honey. One more relapse out of 31, Yolo. I don't think you remember. I lashed out my teeth, tore into you, your forehead bleeding. I lunged out my fist into your belly, so thick, standing still, you said, stand. Imagine yourself as the eye of the typhoon. You said, laugh, smile, dance, mija. She speaks at the podium. My name is Corazoncito. I have an addiction. O esas cosas raras de la vida. Mi mamá nació en Sonora, grew up some in Jalpa. She imagines the strangled throats in Juarez. No, I didn't cross that border. Now let her dance. She likes it when you place your hands on her waist, perk up your ears. It's hissing. Someone is opening a cold beer. Your look can smell it, but it was just the perfume of a woman passing. At night, at the AA meetings, she stands at the podium. When I remember myself in yesterday, I dance. Yolot moves her hips back and forth. There are 2 half moons rounding her. She swells inside then out as breath comes over and under, beats of sweat on her nose. She sways warmly. She is always warm, sings to the play of the music. Ay, vida mía, que nadie sepa de mi sufrir, a tu lado nunca me sentí. She imagines herself as she always has. The lead singer for La Sonora Dinamita. Una mujer cambió mi suerte. I will die of love, and no one will know of our suffering. Boom, boom, let's sing. Move our feet like so, to this side, to the other side. Remember, it's all in the hips, not crossover. En las yemas de la lengua la busco. En la cima de la semilla del trigo la busco. En la lengua de la semilla de tocitle del ambo. The migration beginning from south to north, de Jalisco, de Guadalajara, de Sonora, de Jalpa, de Nada, de todo allí, arriba de coca leaf, abajo la semilla del tomate, we give them names, we spill over unto each other. A dry birth, dice la María. Un nacimiento pero seco, says la María, is the hardest, a blood birthing the bag, empty bag. Primero los pies, but why do we land with our heads first, our feet last? Skin wet and red, is it because we notice them now? But they have always been there, the feet dancing, dust, dirt, sucking in the folds of the callus like the belly skin of the chayote crowning. The bag barely had water, but enough to thicken the growth, a swell of Spanish breath, mimicking the sound of English as La Migra officers pile into the tomato fields. In the back, our ama in the closet that looks like a wall. Maria flew across the border to fill up with something, overstayed and couldn't cross back. Tongues and feet crossing over, smacking back and forth. But a wet birth is easier, dice la Maria. As the water rushes through, the head is easier to push out. The feet slide out last, as they should. As we are remembering this ritual, our hearts begin to bleed in color blue, because as we are remembering, the act of forgetting is occurring. The salt of the ocean seeping into the fog, this fog fogging our tongues. And as all these things are holding each other, we must close our eyes and feel these movements, because it is our eyes that deceive us. La pollera se mueve, de lado a lado. We color canela on our skins as we move our waist side to side. We put words that come from the top, off our sweat, off our chests, each droplet wetting the red of the earth. We move and we move, courting the growing caña, our lips drowning under the root, the breath humid in our throats. Sophia arrived to the apple orchard 6 months pregnant. She followed the movement of the migration to Carolina, to Atlanta, to Missouri, to Carolina, to Missouri, to Atlanta. In the slaughterhouses, she learned how to crack the chest of a chicken, drain the blood, peel the skin. She liked to pull the wishbones red and wet. She learned to hold el hueco on her shoulders, on her throat, whispering her daughter's name. She would pull the apple from the branch. Her fingers bled and dried. She didn't know of doctors here. She didn't know. As the sun murmured its beginning, she said, I will have my first birth on this side. And as the sun continued to murmur, the head came first. He slid out purple without a cry, his body the size of Yolot's palm. The placenta stuck to her uterus wall. She never winced, closed her mouth, her eyes on the white of the hospital, on the glass of the window. Yolo placed her face on Sophia's chest, then on her lips, then on our throats. As it was in the beginning, she took the silent, breathless child, whispered in his ear, "Levántate, Tonantzin se acerca." Tembla la campana, adentro canta, cantamos, pero dentro dice que no tiene un hueco, pero una cueva con un hueco de hueso. From this distance, we are making love. The moon sits on her hat, brings a cigarette to her mouth. The act of rolling in the tobacco burns the esophagus. El Chicote sits next to the wall, wooden walls, that hold in our hummings. As we go in and out of each other, our skin was red then, our skin is red now. But further in we find el tambor, tamboreando al paisano, pasando el pasaje de isla a isla. We are pochas fucking under the belly of the ship that carries us with a memory in the pores of our bodies. We are not that far apart, de la madre y de la madre tierra. And the longer we make love, the further the color of our body turns. Let us kiss once more before the moon becomes full, to guide us through the land in between the rivers. As the corners of our ears are sliced off, we will gather the seeds of the tobacco. I think of her and how we remember each other. When we first learned to make love, licking la cima del trigo in the place of the 7 figs, rompiendo the callus of the hoe, her navel sunk as the eye licked the rim of the ear. In Timacan, Teosile heard us, fed us the poem made of song and bread. Lamiendo en limbo, tongue licks eye, fog's tongue, yo no fui la primera. In Mictlán, the voices are sweet like the ripples of the lake. Clear plum are his lips. I put salt and lemon on plums. Where are you from? I like to always say I am from the tomato fields, but I'm from California. I hate California. Hush, I secretly love it there. Texas is my home. I haven't come home in over 18 years. There's whiskey on his lips. He slurs, leans over. My brother has leukemia. Oh, I'm sorry, but there was a time where I tattooed blue tears just there above the cheek and the curve of the bone. See right there, can you see where? Really close to the eye. It's really tender there. It is our most ancient and truest form. I tattooed myself in red and black ink. I wasn't angry. I haven't spoken to my brother in 18 years. Maria says, no sé qué hacer con él. Ya no sé, estoy cansada y sus hijos ya no le dicen nada. Se sale, no regresa en toda la noche, she says. Le gusta ir a donde le pican la cola. A marriage is a marriage, she says. We have 3 boys together, 3 boys. But poems wither and die. What does that say about our essence, our being? I don't know, but if you look far enough into that distance, you will find yourself in a crowd surrounding a beached whale because of the low tide. There's a sound that she makes. She makes a sound against the wet of the sand. Her lips are purple and torn. She starts wondering if we were just poems of God. When we frame, we look to see them. We want to see them disappear as they turn past the bushes. Jolo, begin heart breath here. When the stars did not gleam and the darks of us were being, there was Jolo, learning to pace across black oceans. She held dirt in her palm and light in her mouth. She asked the ungleaming stars to walk with her. and they walked with her, mouthing her lips to see if they could understand the light she carried. And they followed her back and forth across the massiveness of the darks. They felt her rhythm. Reaching over to her, they put their cheeks on the curve of her waist, felt her plump as she moved with them, and they moved with her, warming their cheeks, warming their throats. Finally, she stopped. She let them collide into her, the light in her mouth spilled, they having their lips wide open, swallowed, and they began to gleam. So excited were they that they ran across the universes to find the others, and they began to make curves like her waist. Rounding the curves, they learned to make moons, and they taught the moons how to move like Yolot moved, and Yolot rubbed her earth all over her body, and she scattered herself, making mothers upon mothers, and everyone containing her rhythms. And she, Yolot, let herself be as it all danced with her, and she danced, making drums of their skins, and she looked at herself in them, and saw their skins gleam like the dark oceans and the stars. Thank you.